All right, 6:01, we'll start our meeting here. Now that we're all here. Okay, so we do have a 6:30. Our truth and taxation hearing is tonight. We will break for that. Otherwise, we have a straightforward agenda. Towards the end, we will be also moving into a closed session to talk about the city administrator's annual performance appraisal. More on that when we get there. Starting with our council activity reports. A little bit quiet for me over the last couple weeks. Had the Jubilation event on Saturday before last. That was a pretty good success. There were a lot of people there. I thought it was a good time to be had by all. Allison said it was wonderful as well. They've got quite a bit of money coming in from it. We also had our department head meeting this morning. Ron's got some things to report from that coming up on our update. Otherwise, that's, I think, all I've got. I wasn't able to make the working sessions last week. I was feeling quite a bit under the weather with everything going around, so appreciate Jean's taking over in my absence. And with that, Neil, I'll turn it over to you.
I was pretty busy. November 30th, the special work session, meeting with the school township, which wasn't there, unfortunately, a hospital, and that was at 5, and at 6 we had the city special working session. We had labor negotiations meeting at the city shop, also on the 30th at 9 in the morning. And then on Wednesday, December 7th, I went to Shady's. Vibrant Co-op talked about broadband and streaming. It was pretty interesting and had very good Carmel roll. And tonight we had Public Works. Talked about a lot of topics, from trucks we can't get to maybe one that we can. And that'll be on tonight's agenda, I believe.
Yep.
That's enough for 2 weeks.
Great, thank you, sir. Megan.
I had the community working session and council working session as well. And I did the holiday wine club with the liquor store, which was a success as usual. And that's been a quiet couple weeks for me.
Thank you. Jean.
I also did the working session and community session, and I had a chamber board meeting.
All right, what are they up to these days?
They're kind of planning their annual meeting in January, the 14th, and so they're going to plan a calendar for next year.
Thank you. Paul.
Just a special working session.
Right, our department of reports. Ron.
Okay, thank you. First of all, on sidewalks, I'd like to encourage all residents, if you do have a sidewalk, that you do need to clean it. Last week after the snow, we did send out 44 letters, I believe it was, to residents that had not cleaned it. So just a word of warning that if you do not clean them, we will come and clean it for you and bill you back for it. All our part-timers are done for the year, so they are off. If anybody noticed, out at the airport, there still is a lot of activity. So I think the training that they are doing out there has taken off quite well for them. The source water grant, we do have the letter in your packet under informational that we will get awarded it, but we do have to wait for their funding. And also in your packet is the wellhead, the sampling that they did in PCA on the monitoring wells. And then the 2011 and 13 vehicles that we had ordered, we were informed that we will not be getting those in. So we were going to have to start over on those both. So that's all I have.
And why aren't we getting those vehicles?
They cannot get them. They said they are not available.
Are they going to honor the quote on a new purchase?
That is exactly what we were asked in the Public Works Board tonight, and we will have to go back to them. But being it's a state contract, and through the state contract, they're not available. So is it our locals' fault, or is it the state contract? That's, so it will be brought back again.
Thank you. Any questions for Ron? Thank you, sir. Tarek?
All I had was the policies and procedures meeting, and then we also had the community working sessions. That's it.
Bill, are you here on anything other than the truth and taxation?
Truth and taxation.
Okay. Just making sure I wasn't skipping over you for
No,
something.
you're just fine.
Okay. Chief, I assume you're the same? Anything special you want to tell us about?
I was just told I had to be here.
Anyone for the public forum? Chief, now's your chance to speak.
Not good.
Right, moving on then to the adoption of our consent agenda, which includes the minutes listed on page 1, the vouchers on page 2, which come to a total of, my computer would catch up to me, $245,173.34, along with the MWRA trainings. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, or does anyone want anything pulled?
I move to approve.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Soini to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None? That carries. Okay, we have a new airport lease on page 5. Ron, anything you want to tell us about this?
This is just a renewal of hangar number 1, and that pilot is going to be remaining in his hangar and paying the new rate.
Okay. And it looks like with the way that this is structured, on page 2 of the agreement, 7 of our agenda, there's an agreement to pay it annually rather than the additional $10 a month.
Correct.
Just making sure I was reading that part right. All right, so then we're looking for a motion to approve the lease renewal.
I'll make the motion to approve the airport T-hangar release between the city of Basil and Matt Larson.
We have a motion by Soini. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Thielen to approve the airport T-hangar lease agreement between the city and Matt Larson. Any further discussion on this? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Carries. Right, on to page 17 of our agenda, our annual designation of our polling place, Resolution 2022-42. I did notice on our action sheet, there's a typo. That should be 2022, not 2020.
Yep.
It happens, but looks like we've secured the Green Roof Area Center again for next year for our first, second, third precincts.
Make the motion to approve resolution 2022-42 designation of polling place.
We have a motion by Soini, as stated on the action sheet. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Hertzberg, approving Resolution 2022-42. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries. I will say my joke about the precincts was just a joke. We have one precinct. Okay, right. Tark, can you give us a report on what's going on with the revised job descriptions, please?
Yeah, there are a couple of things going on here. First of all, as you know, the job descriptions for the treasurer and the zoning administrator have changed. And based on that change, of course, we got the jobs reappointed, and the zoning administrator, we thought more fitting to change the title instead of zoning administrator to a city clerk position. We had an external consultant advise us on the appointing and the job descriptions, and both the positions, because of the added duties that they took on and added responsibilities since 2020, and actually I think it began in 2019, the added duties that they were doing, they came up at a higher grade than their old job description. So the recommendation is to bring them up to the new grade based on their new and approved job descriptions. That's the first item here.
Can you go ahead and tell us about Public Works too?
Yeah, Public Works is the bigger one. Public Works, last year, before we signed the union contract, they approached us and they said that they've been trying to have their market analysis done on their jobs because they felt they were underpaid, and for whatever reason, over the past several years, it hasn't been done. So what we agreed to do last year with them is that we'll take a look at it. We'll see if they are indeed underpaid, where they should be at. We would do a repointing and market study as well. We didn't do a formal market study. I on my own did called up some of the cities that I felt were comparable to see where they're at in terms of pay. We are on the lower side from what I found out. And then the union representative for the Public Works employees came back, and they had some additional cities that they did reviews on, and it also showed that we are on the lower side of the pay. When we had our external consultant do the repointing for Public Works, one of the things they noted right away was that all Public Works staff should be on the same grade because they're performing the same functions. So they recommended that instead of a grade 5, 6, and 7, they all are on a grade 8, which is comparable to the same grade at some other cities that we looked at. And then also the Public Works Director, the pointing for the Public Works Director would go from a 14 to a 17. And of course, based on that brought up a bunch of other questions because it would be on the same grade as I am and then higher than the police chief. So the recommendation was to look at repointing of all the staff, do it all at once, and then do a comprehensive market analysis, because the last market analysis was done a few years ago and the market has changed since then. So what I reached out to the consultant and asked them to submit us a proposal to consider. They did submit a proposal and it's in the packet for your review.
So this then goes into item H under new business, the city council working session, something that Neil asked we put on here. Neil and I had a phone call a couple of days ago talking about all of the stuff going on here and the best way to make a plan going forward. And the suggestion was made that maybe we do a working session where we can talk about all of the intricacies and spend a significant amount of time on it when we're not dealing with other business and things that might appear before us.
And limit the session to just these two topics.
Yeah, items C and D.
Correct.
Yep. I think that's a great idea. I do. I don't want to kick this can too far down the road, though. I've been thinking on it a lot. I have a suggestion. It doesn't need to be the way we go, but I'm going to throw it out there. But I think it would be prudent for us to make the changes to the positions that are recommended here and reserve the issues of back pay or anything like that while we do a working session so that we can get some more budget numbers if we need them. And then also send this out for a full market study so that we will come back to the issues of back pay. We're not saying no, but we can spend some more time talking about it. But at least we're fixing the problem going forward while we continue to take some time to think on it.
Grade changes.
That would take effect then tonight.
Okay.
That's how I envision it.
That's what I was, that's what I thought.
So if I understand this right, we're going to wait until the market study through DDA is done and then decide?
So I think probably, and again, this is just my suggestion, we go forward, we approve the revised job descriptions, and then move the ones that are on here, the Public Works, City Clerk, Treasurer, get those on the new grades that are recommended after being repointed. That'll take effect immediately, but then we can take a look, discuss at a working session, back pay, things like that, what that's gonna look like as a whole city. Because I think if we're looking at repointing the city administrator, the police chief, everybody else, we are gonna have just a huge back pay. It's a lot of money.
I agree. The market study will take approximately 4 weeks. It could be sooner, but they're estimating 4 weeks. Up to 4 weeks, sorry.
I think Neil's suggestion is 100% on point. We need to have a very detailed conversation about this. But I don't want to continue just perpetually kicking the can down the road. I think we need to take some sort of action on it now.
I think I prefer to talk about the whole works at the
Okay?
work session, and do the work session yet this week or next week, so we can get this resolved by January 1st.
Okay?
And I think that we've already discussed the job descriptions for the two positions. We've already sort of approved.
Or the clerk and the treasurer, right? Yeah, those have been
Yeah, I mean,
discussed.
those job descriptions, we've already discussed and
Yeah.
planned to change. And they've already been redone. So I think we can approve their job descriptions as of right now.
You're talking this clerk
The city treasurer and city clerk.
and the treasurer.
Yeah.
That I can see, as far as public works go, I think we should,
There's more discussion needed.
yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yes. So I will make a motion to approve the revised job descriptions for the city treasurer and city clerk positions.
I have a motion by Soini to approve the revised job descriptions for the city treasurer and city clerk positions. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Brick. Hold on, give me just a second, please, guys.
I would like my job description to wait until after the working session.
Okay.
Okay. Then I will amend my motion.
Hold on, we've got a motion and a second, let me just. Okay, so we have a motion to approve, as stated on the action sheet by Jean, seconded by Megan. I'll open up for discussion. Jennifer, you said you'd rather wait until after the working session. Belinda, you're the other one affected by this motion. How do you feel about that?
If it's easier to put it all together, that's fine.
Okay. Should we just vote it down?
Or I can withdraw it, then you can have a withdrawal one. Second.
Do you withdraw your second?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're just gonna take that off. That's. All right, if we go to page 1 of our update, Jennifer had suggested a couple of, some times that we might be able to do a working session. I'm just gonna take us to that. It seems like that's where we're headed, that's fine. We have Friday, December 16th during the day. I'm available anytime in the afternoon. Monday, the 19th at 5 before our joint meeting. I think that's fine. I worry that an hour is not going to be enough time for us.
I was thinking.
21st at 6, not good for me. 22nd at 6, that's fine if we already be here late. Otherwise, the 28th, not good for me. No, the 28th would be fine.
We can't do this week sometime?
We could do the 16th. I'm available anytime in the afternoon on Friday.
I may or may not be gone this Friday. It's still kind of up in the air.
What else?
I'm available until 7:30 on Friday.
I can do Friday in the afternoon.
Would you be available by phone, Megan, if we had to go forward?
Yeah,
Okay.
You're gonna be out of town?
I might be. My parents are sick, so we'll see.
Oh.
Friday at 1?
Friday at 1?
The 16th?
Yeah.
That looks good.
Okay. You want to make a motion for Friday at 1 o'clock?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
And I have a motion to set the city council working session for Friday, December 16th at 1 PM. We're doing that during the day. Do we have access to the council chamber at that time?
Yeah, we just closed this off.
Right. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Right. Any opposed? None? That carries. Okay, then looking at new business items C and D. I just want to make sure we're being abundantly clear. We don't always call for motions to table, but if somebody's willing to make a motion to table items under new business C and new business D until after our working session. I think that would be appropriate.
I'll move to table those until after our working session.
I have a motion by Brick to table items C and D on our agenda until after our working session. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ellen.
And we wouldn't be voting on it until our last meeting in December, correct?
Right, unless we call another special meeting. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Carries. All right. Jen, did you get all that, or do we need to repeat things?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Right. Okay, then moving on to item E, we still have 8 minutes before our public hearing. Someone's probably gonna have to kick me at 6:30 though, just to make sure. Department of Public Safety proctoring. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on here?
I don't have much information on this one, actually. I know that we want to increase the hours on it.
So we currently have a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Public Safety to do the proctoring, which is the written test here that we currently give on Wednesdays from 8:30 to 3:30. They sent out a revised MOU that says now they want an additional day. They didn't tell us how many hours the additional day had to have. So we would like to offer Tuesday morning testing from 8:30 to 11. So that was the biggest significant change of the MOU.
This was already signed by Melinda, so we're just looking to make it official. Anyone willing to make a motion to approve the updated testing?
I will make a motion to approve the updated testing, Proctor's memo of understanding between Minnesota Department of Public Safety and City of Painesville.
All right, I have a motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Sony, as stated on the action sheet, to approve the updated testing proctor memorandum of understanding between the Department of Public Safety and the city. Any further discussion on that? Yes.
One comment, we charge a $10 fee, and do we keep all of that?
Yes.
The state motor vehicle gets nothing, they're just happy that we're doing this.
Correct.
Good?
And the last month, they've been averaging anywhere between 9 and 15 a week, so it's been full days.
Okay.
Next, available date.
All right, calling the question, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries. Okay. Page 52, we have a gambling application from Corona Stocks to host bingo and a raffle on January 21st at the Legion. From my eyes, everything appears to be in order. I have no opposition to them doing it, and I would ask for a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the Minnesota Lawful Gambling LG 220 application for exempt permit for the Corona Stocks Unlimited.
I have a motion by Brick, as stated on the action sheet. Is there a second? Seconded by Soini, approving the lawful gambling application LG 220 for the Corona Stocks Unlimited. Any further discussion?
Here I go again.
Yep.
We charge $100. Do we get any of that fee? They have to pay $100 to Minnesota Gamble.
We don't get any of it.
So, okay. Just a service. But that's part of the program.
And really, our only opposition is if we have some sort of moral opposition to gambling, as I understand it. Yes?
Well, I know the Legion appreciates having a little business that doesn't all go out of town.
Okay. All right, calling the question on the approval of the application. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? Carried. Okay. Fire Department DNR grant, looking to accept some money that we received. $5,000 for the purchase of turnout gear. Fortunately, doesn't go as far as it should, but we'll take whatever we can get.
I'll make a motion to approve the DNR grant contract between the Painesville Fire Department and DNR Division of Force
around.
Here, and authorize the mayor and city administrator to sign that.
We have a motion by Sony, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Thielen regarding the grant as stated on the action sheet. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? Motion carries. Right. On to our update on the agenda, page 2. I think we can get this done before our hearing. Ron, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Okay, thank you. Our dump truck, I think we've talked about it a number of times, and I know the Public Works has, and we were planning to replace it sometime this spring or summer and take our time. However, there was a little incident this past week where the box, we were lifting it up, and all of a sudden it jumped on us and found out that it is literally rusting off. We tried to make a repair to it, however, the box frame is literally rusted right through. Talked to a number of professionals about it, and at this point, their recommendation is replacing it. We did look at quite a number of different units. The one you have in front of you, the 2008 Freightliner, it's got 27,000 miles on it. 30-wing plow, stainless steel sander on it, 10-foot box. That is the best unit that we found, without a doubt. We did have another one in here, but that is not nearly as good a deal. So Public Works did look at this and did acknowledge that yes, we had indeed planned to replace it this spring, and they did recommend moving forward with the unit here. We do have to pay sales tax on that, so the total cost after the documenting fees and license fee is $83,704.50. So, and that was a motion by the Public Works to recommend purchasing it. We do have the funds available in the street reserve fund, street equipment reserve, so that's where the funds would come out of.
Ron brought this up in the department head meeting this morning, and I looked a little bit online during that meeting just to see what else might be out there. And I also saw the truck that he's recommending along with this yellow one, so I've seen the larger pictures of the other one that don't really show well on the printout. And there's quite a bit of rust on that unit. It's not in great shape, even though it is cheaper. It's got some issues. Ron, I don't know if you guys were able to go down and take a look at the 2008 today, but at least the pictures of it, it looked like it was essentially a brand new truck.
No, well, we did go down and look at it.
Okay.
There is some minor rust on this one also, but it is nothing that we can't take care of. So,
And those were these two from the ones that I just saw online in a quick search this morning. These were probably the only two reasonable.
correct. Yes, these are the only two reasonable trucks.
Yeah, everything else is either a complete rust bucket or extremely overpriced.
Correct.
Do you have any idea what a new truck would cost if we went that route?
Well, first of all, if you could get one.
Yeah.
Yes, I know I think it was Stearns County, that if somebody has some order, getting them is going to be the biggest thing. I think they're 2 to 3 years out. But we'd be talking about probably 2 1/4, 250,000.
6:30. Yep. And it's 6:30, so let's just wrap this up real quick if we can. We're also going to need this for the next couple of days.
Yes, we are.
Can we get it as soon as tomorrow if we approve it tonight?
If we can, yes, correct, we can. Yeah, it will be available.
All right, any further discussion, or can we get a motion on this before we go into our truth and taxation?
I'll make the motion to approve the 2008 Freightliner truck from North Star Truck Sales in the amount of $83,704.50, with the funds to come from the street equipment replacement.
Second.
Motion by Soini, seconded by Brick. Any discussion on that?
And that is if we can get our mayor to come in and sign a check tomorrow.
I'll be here. As soon as Belinda tells me the check is signed, whoever's going to go pick up the truck can run into my house.
And then mine.
Genuine look on your face. Anything that you need to be aware of?
Just that we had to cut a check, we had to do a special number.
Yes. do that tonight before you leave?
Probably not. I need to see the paperwork first.
Okay. All right.
Did we approve that motion?
We are not voting on it. You can just send me with a debit card tomorrow.
There's not that big a cap on it.
I was gonna say, there's not that much.
All right, call into question, then we have a motion to purchase the 2008 Freightliner in the amount totaling $83,704.50. Funds coming from Street Equipment Replacement Fund. Motion by Soini, seconded by Brick. Any further discussion? Right, this is a note from the auditors, this is an emergency purchase. We did do some research on other quotes, and this is the best one that we can get under the circumstances. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? That carries. All right, thank you for letting me be a little late. I assumed with the large gallery here, people were very concerned about the information we're about to hear. So, moving into our truth in taxation public hearing. Tara, do you want to start us off?
And Belinda start?
So we did have a couple of small changes to the budget from the prelim that was presented on 9/12. The administration salaries went up, the salaries, the withholdings, everything went up, and the airport was reduced just in a switch out of percentages on my salary. So it's just a flop, they're both in the general fund, so it doesn't affect the general fund, just the departments. We also removed $5,500 from the professional services manager at the skating rink. And then the liquor fund, we had to increase maintenance and repair of equipment from 1218 to 2100 to account for the in-code upgrade that's taking place in 2023. So just a couple notes on that. I believe the TVs are not working, so I put page numbers on my PowerPoint that I think match Jen's agenda to try to walk through it easier. If it doesn't work, let me know. If you start on page 160 of your agenda, that's kind of the beginning of the PowerPoint. We have to, every year, approve our levy on or before 5 working days after December 20th. I did this year, so it's 27th. On page 161, it shows that we have got an unbalanced budget. We're actually going in with a little bit higher revenue than expenditure, about $19,500 higher. It's a proposed tax levy increase of $135,000. On that same page, we have the expenditure spreadsheet for the general fund. The biggest differences on it include 0 for the 2023 budget for elections because we don't have elections in 2023. Fire protection went up 37.5%. That is mainly the annual transfer to the capital improvement fund for fire trucks. And salaries increased a bit there. And the reason their salaries increased, theirs is a little different than everybody else's. They are based on an average of the last 3 years of salaries, and 2021 would have been based on 18, 19, and 20, and 18 was a real low year. 2023 is based on 19, 20, no, 18, 19, 20, and 21. And 19, or 21 was a much higher year than 18. So it really affected the average. You're going to see a lot of negative 100% on this because we closed several departments in 2023. Weed inspection closed, animal control closed, snow and ice removal closed, street lighting we closed, and we're putting all of those onto streets.
Belinda, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
Just ask that the microphone get pulled over closer.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Sure, that's fine.
Okay, so those, they all are a negative 100 because they're actually going to streets. And street, you'll see a big increase of 57.8% to accommodate that. The emergency services, we removed most of that department, left a couple things in there, but most of that was absorbed by the police department. Animal control I talked about, streets and alleys of course increased. Library increased almost fully because we put a transfer to capital improvement there in anticipation of potentially a new library. Skating rink went down, that is because of removing that 5,500. Beaches is 0, we closed that department, we added it to parks. If you go to page 162, that basically shows the general fund salaries and benefits and remaining budget, showing the differences Salaries is about 42% of the general fund. Benefits are 3.8%. Remaining budget is over 53%. On page 163, it's a graph showing the different departments within the general fund. Public safety is a lion's share of it at 34.5%. Public works comes in next at 22%. Also on page 163 shows your revenue for general fund. Biggest changes there, we dropped the interest income down quite a bit. Licenses and permits were reduced. That is mainly because we're no longer doing pet licenses, and we went from 3 to 2 liquor licenses. Election is negative 100% because, again, we don't have an election. Miscellaneous jumped up by a little over 30%, mainly because of lodging tax income coming in, and we increased the street lighting fee. On page 164, we're on general fund expenditures, the graph of that. Public safety, again, getting the bigger share of the expenses, and public works coming in second. Then we have a graph showing LGA monies. If you see, they've been very steady the last few years. 2023, we're anticipating $778,708. The next screen, page 165, is EDAP expenditures. Engineering, we bumped up from 300 to 2,000. Just historically, the last few years, it's been considerably higher. And that's the only real big change. Contractual services shows a negative 40, but it's only a $200 reduction. On page 165 also starts the water fund, and I think Ron's going to take over at that point.
Sure, thank you. The water fund, first of all, source of supply, that went up 8.5%. That's due to mostly utilities and maintenance and repair. Purification, that is the water treatment plant. Remember, we did take the VOC plant offline, so we are able to hold the line there at 3.2%. And maintenance and repair, again, is the reason that did go up. The distribution system, that's all the fire hydrants and 18 miles of water main. That did go up 26.3%, and that is mostly due to water leaks. A few years back, you could get a repair of the asphalt for maybe $100 a ton. We're looking at least $200 to $300 a ton to get a patching done today. So the actual patch always costs more than what the repair does. But hopefully we won't get into that. Admin, the salaries, M&R and insurance went up. Let's see, the non-operating, that is obviously the lion's share, and our CIPs and reserves is what that is. Our total appropriations went from $1,053,377 up to $1,086,653, or 3.2% there. And under the rates, we are recommending going up 50 cents on the base rate and 5 cents on the bulk rate, and it is pretty common to see a lot of communities out there in that probably $8 to $10 range. So we feel pretty comfortable with where we are at here. On the 2023, the fund expenditure source of supply is at 3.5%, purification 4.9%, the distribution 3.7%, salaries and benefits is at 10.6%, the admin is at 5.6%, and the non-operating expenses is at 71.7% there. Under the sewer budget, first of all, the collection system, that went up 6.5%, mostly due to utilities, contractual services, and maintenance and repair. The disposal, that is the pond system, mostly testing and analyzing, and maintenance and repair. Admin went up 6.9% due to salaries and depreciation. Our non-operating expenses, which again is the CIP and reserves. Under the irrigation system, the admin went up 1.7%. The irrigation basin went up 1%, for a total of 3.5%. The appropriations went from 1.656 1.801 to 1.715,505 for a total of the 3.5. And we're not recommending any increase in the sewer rates, and that is pretty much strictly due to the increased flows that we have seen over the last couple of years. We feel very comfortable that we will be able to match that revenue. Under the sewer fund budget, the main left in collections is at 2.9%. The ponds and disposal is at 3.7%. The salaries and benefits was at 7.7%. The admin is at 26.5%. The non-operating expenses at 36.7%. The irrigation is at 3.8%. The irrigation admin is at 7%, and the irrigation basin, which that is paid 100% by our industry, is at 11.7%. Any questions?
Thank you, Ron. Bill?
Page 167, you're going to see that off-sale purchases are going to be up 5.1%. That is getting the product in the door that we need to do business. Salaries is going to be up 6.1%. Other expenses 3.4%. Transfers were going to remain the same as this year's budget, 53,000. So total appropriations are going to be 4.9%, or 1.914525 on the 23 budget. The next page, you see the graph, and that's going to really spell out a little better. Our biggest expense, again, is purchasing product. Salaries and benefits is at 14.1%. The jump there is simply maintaining staff and being very competitive with our competitors and keeping staff on hand. Other expenses, overhead is about right in line where we should be. Again, the transfers at 40,000 to the city. The other was balance would go toward our capital improvement fund. On 168, we're trending where I think we should be looking at it right at 5%. Coming out of COVID, we're still having very strong sales. I believe that's going to continue again with, especially with the road construction, that's been a major help for our business as well. So we're kind of budgeting 5% right across the board as an increase in total revenue of 1.916450 for sales. Again, on the graph, you'll see that beer sales are right at 46%, liquors at 25%, wines at 10%, and that has been our trend for the last several years. Wine is down a little bit because people are drinking canned cocktails. That's going to be the next push, as we're already seeing that. But again, beer remains strong. And also our tobacco sales are very, very strong at 5.5%. So that's what we're budgeting for next year. If there's any other questions.
Well, just to note that the liquor store is above budget this year, just like they were last year. So he's running higher numbers than what was budgeted.
Perfect. It's more money for the city,
Amen.
not your capital improvement fund.
Right.
Anyone have any questions? I have a few. Belinda, you talked about doing some repositioning of salary allocations. And your numbers that are in here for salaries include the repointing and the regrading that we've been talking about for the last few weeks. So if we look at there being a 19,506 surplus, but yet we talk about raising grades and things like that, that's going to be consumed.
Yes, that is correct.
Do we know where we are 2022? If the liquor store is revenue positive for their budget, do we know where we are in the city? Are we tapping into our reserves, or do we not know until we finish the audit?
We really don't know until all the entries are done at year end.
Do you have any idea?
It's been pretty steady this year. I mean, everything's coming in like it should be when you look at the year to date. it's right at that, I think I balanced October, it's right at that 10-month mark for both revenue and expense. It's pretty good.
Slightly better, but yeah.
Any other comments or questions on the budget from anyone?
I guess when our state is sitting on a tremendous surplus and the LGA isn't close to what inflation is, pretty poor. But what it is, my vote didn't count.
They should really let the cities determine how much is distributed for LGA.
Well, it's a shame it doesn't go along with inflation. That's pretty sad.
Well, I was hoping, seeing that we came in 19,000 for our proposed levy above our projected expenses, we could cut that. But I don't know that we can do that in good faith. What I'd like to see is the legislature to figure their stuff out this year, give us a healthy bump, and then maybe we could reduce our levy going into 2024. I'm not going to hold my breath, but I can hope.
This is the hardest discussion I had with the residents in town. It's not the city tax levy going up, which is a lot less than the county. But where do we pump the brakes on this? The only spot I could see would be reducing some of the capital improvements. And then when we get better at cash flow, moving them back up. And I don't know where the best capital improvements are to whittle it down from, but I think Ronnie would be probably the best, have the most knowledge out of that one.
No, but that's tricky when you start cutting from capital improvement and then the time comes when you need it and you're short and.
Yep, I understand that.
Yeah, just.
It becomes
It's kind of like the dump truck. We're lucky we have the reserves to be able to do this and pick it up tomorrow before the snowstorm.
And we did make
That's
cuts.
the whole idea with the reserves.
We did make cuts for quite a few years in capital improvement, and we're just starting to bring them back up to what they used to be. They're already lower than what they used to be.
It's a hard sell to those with fixed incomes, but I also understand that to keep the city fluid, we gotta keep it balanced.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the only two capital improvement funds we increased from, well, at least from the department head proposals, was the library and then fire.
They were the big ones. And the fire department has not had an increase in those in years.
Yeah.
And those fire trucks are not getting any cheaper. And their fire trucks are older in the hills because we have not budgeted accordingly to put money in the transfers for them.
No, they've been under budgeted for.
They have.
That's why the fire department is in the, or was in the predicament they were in because there was no budgeting for it.
And still are, because it's going to take a lot of transfers to get that caught up.
I don't know if there's anything else to cut. I mean, I can look through here and I can come up with a couple of things where maybe we can cut some and save a few $100, but at that point, I think we're just being penny wise and pound foolish, and we just need to move
Well,
forward.
I agree, when I saw we were 19,000 over, I thought, well, good, we could drop it $10,000 or something, but not looking at the money we have to come up with.
Not
It's not going to work.
But we can keep that into consideration for next year. And yeah, go ahead.
No, any other comments on our public hearing before we go back into our
Are there items on the budget that we can deny down the road? Or does that need to be decided right now?
This is it for the budget.
Because I have one area that I guess I've spoken of before on. It's kind of hid in the budget. I kind of look at things step by step. And it was was on beaches, and now it's in parks, and I believe it's under contractual. It would be our AIS donation.
Yep.
What are we proposing for this year?
It was reduced.
Yeah, we cut it in half. and-
Well, I'd like to see zero myself. When you got guys, two guys sleeping on the job, and every fisherman that owns a boat knows the regulations, and they're posted on every single landing, I think it's a waste of money. And if the DNR thinks it's so important, they can fund it. And right now, it's in the DNR's hands. They should be looking for violators, writing them up, and not worrying about a policeman at every landing trying to stay awake.
I don't have it by itself in here, but I believe it went from 43 to 38. Is what
I'd
policy
like to
is.
see zero, and I'm gonna make that a recommendation. Matter of fact, I'll make it a motion if somebody wants a second.
Not yet. I'm gonna tell you to pump your brakes on that for just a second, because we're still in our public hearing. So let us, any other comments on the budget? Okay, then let's close out of our public hearing, go back to page 85 of our agenda, I'm gonna bump us down to old business, item D. Then we're going to get into the budgeting items. We have a resolution 2022-43, amending the license and the fee schedule. We have some proposals that came out of Budget and Finance to modify these things, and we're looking for a resolution to carry them forward.
Are these fee increases included in the current budget then?
Yes.
Okay.
I do not see, and maybe it's because we made it part of the statute, but I don't see the THC stuff on here.
So these are actually changes to the fee schedule that has already been set for
Okay.
23.
So because that's staying the same, it's not going to show on here. Thanks.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2022-43, amending license and fee schedule.
There's a motion by Soini, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Thielen. One thing I want to talk about as we move into some discussion. Belinda, I think you talked about it most at Budget and Finance, so I'll look to you, but feel free to defer to somebody else. We increased the fee for our water disconnect and reconnect. And we spent a little bit of time at Budget and Finance talking about how that might be a punishment for people who are low enough income who can't afford to pay the water bill or struggle with that. Can you just speak publicly on all of the steps that we do to make sure that people who are in that financial situation aren't being hit by this?
Sure.
And that it really just affects those who choose to ignore the bill rather than deal with it.
Yep. We send out our original bill, you get 30 days to pay without a late penalty. Day after that, day 31, we assess a late fee, and we send out a late notice. 10 days later, we send out a second late notice, so that's your third notice now, that your bill is due, by 10 days from now, and if it's not paid by then, you're going to be shut off. And at this point, charge a $70 off-on fee, basically. It pays the guys time for going out and turning the curb stop, shutting it off. It pays the time for the admin, the paperwork that has to be done with it. But they are given, customers or residents are giving 3 notices. They also can sign up for a payment agreement, and we do put instructions in both their late notice envelopes on neon paper on how to do that. We talk to anyone we can ahead of time about that. We try to make that super clear because we would much, much rather have somebody sign a payment agreement than get shut off. It's more work for everybody to have a shut off. There's also through the county a program that they can apply for through the county. I think it's actually a state-run program that the county manages. We just had one the other day, that the county then will pay the water bill. I don't believe they have to pay it back, it is grant money. but they have to apply for it. They have to make the effort to apply for it. It's income guidelines. So there's several options there to not have that shut-off fee. The payment agreement you can extend out up until the re-rates or the rates of the next quarter. So the third quarter water bill was sent out October 1st, due November 1st, November 20th would be cut off, but you could extend your payment agreement out without being shut off until about the middle of December. So it's almost another month and a half from due date.
I think the biggest thing that I just like to stress is there are options.
Absolutely.
And it's not just there, it's not as a penalty for those who can't afford it, it's there for a penalty for those who choose.
Correct. We want to work with the residents to do payment agreements.
And one other thing on that, Sean, is just because it's a quarterly bill, people pay their water bill monthly or even weekly through their bank. People make payments on it monthly or weekly. Just because it's quarterly doesn't mean you have to pay it quarterly.
You can pay that, for sure.
Chief, I can't remember, did we already increase your contract rate?
It's in here.
Yes.
Yeah, it's, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's increased to $75.
Oh, there it is, okay. It's like I looked for it, I didn't see it, but there it is. Okay, all right, any other discussion on this? Okay, we have a motion to approve the schedule by Soini, seconded by Thielen. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? That carries. Going to page 89 with the water rates. We've talked a little bit about this already. Resolution 2022-44. Ron, would you mind giving us just the basic highlights on what's going up here and how that's affected? Basically, it's going up negligibly.
Yes, we're going up 5 cents on the water rates and 50 cents on the bulk rate, and there is no increase to the sanitary sewer rate. As noted before, that is simply due to the increased flow that we have seen over the past couple of years.
Thank you. And we already talked about the disconnect fee, so we won't bring that up again. All right, I'd call for a motion approving resolution 2022-44, unless somebody wants to otherwise move.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2022-44 regarding chapter 34.
Okay, motion by Hertzberg, is there a second? Second by Soini. As stated on the action sheet, to approve resolution 2022-44. Any further discussion on that?
Yeah, I have something. For the sewer, for the largest bulk user that we have in town, is this a blanket for them also, or do they have a special rate for the sewer, API?
For the bulk rate,
Yeah.
this is the same rate that they pay.
Yeah.
However, they pay additional rate for their BOD that they send us.
Oh, okay, that's what I was looking for. All right, answered.
And the one thing that we have talked about in budget and finance is right now we have a schedule for our water where it's highest for between 1,000 and 2,001 gallons, excuse me, and 100,000, and then it goes down for higher users. And we talked about flipping that so that the higher users would get paid or get charged more money per unit rather than less.
And that is a trend, I think, that is, we're gonna start seeing, so the more you use, the more you pay.
And it's an incentive to help conserve. But that's not on this is just something to be aware of as we head into the next year. Hearing no further discussion, calling the question on resolution 2022-44. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Carries. Okay. Now on page 94, we are looking for a motion to approve the 2022-45, resolution 2022-45, which would adopt the 2023 city budget. I understand Neil was prepared to make a motion. I will look to him to so move. We'll give him that chance. But before he does, I just have a question. Just rolling through here real quick, do you need special resolution language from us, Jen, in order to accommodate Neil's motion? Or can we do that on the back end?
Well, it probably will change the numbers within the resolution, so I think we can approve the resolution noting whatever the decision on his suggestion is.
Okay. All right. Neil, I don't know if that clarified or made things worse for you, but you had started to make a motion during our public session. I'll give you first crack at making something now.
I have a question then too.
Okay.
Would that change our levy too then?
Not if you,
Negligible.
Not that.
it's not that much money, I would assume you would just keep it as reserves.
Yeah.
Well, I just think it could be used for a better purpose, which obviously would be what we're going to discuss on Friday. And when Leonard Gilmore, Lamb Agency, run this program, I think it was better run and coordinated than what I've seen the last couple of years. So with that, I'll make the motion that we quit funding AIS inspections. Period.
And then would your motion include approving the rest of the budget as is?
It does.
Okay. So I have a motion by Hertzberg approving the 2023 budget with the exception of the AIS funding, which would be eliminated. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Thielen. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, the motion before us is to approve Resolution 2022-45 as amended to eliminate the AIS payment and approve the remainder of the 2023 city budget. Calling the question on that, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, that carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Going on then to the adoption of the levy, page 171. We have Resolution 2022-46, which had proposed a levy of $1,129,054. A couple of things to keep in mind before we look at approving this is that the budget numbers we currently have give us a surplus of about $19,500 plus an additional $38 from the AIS that we just eliminated. If we want to make some modifications to that levy amount, now is the time to do it. Otherwise, that money is there to offset any increases that we may encounter with the salary modifications going forward.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Where would that extra money go, just in general fund?
Yeah, if we pass the levy as it is and don't spend all of it, it would go into our general fund reserves. And right now, our reserves are healthy. Belinda, please correct me if I'm wrong. Tara, correct me if I'm wrong. They're healthy.
Yep.
We can dip into them as we need to, but they're kind of right at that magic cutoff level where if we get too far, it's going to start dinging our credit rating. We're sort of in the sweet spot where we have enough without having too much. So we're not sitting on money that we shouldn't have collected in the first place. But we don't want to spend too much more either, otherwise we might have to start paying higher interest rates when we go out for bonds on street projects.
Yeah, so our reserves are in a good position.
Okay.
If we don't spend it, it would go into that reserve pile.
As you know, I'm a fiscal conservative, don't like spending money, but I can go ahead and agree with this. So I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-46, adopting final 2023 tax levy collectible in 2023.
Motion by Thielen, as stated on the action sheet, 2022-46, adopting the tax levy totaling $1,129,054. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Hertzberg. Any further discussion on that? If none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? That carries. Okay. Back up then, page 66. Revisiting the situation we had with Joe and Dorita Miller, who were here a few weeks ago. I understand both Ron and Tarek reached out to Vibrant. I also had some communications with Vibrant because the poor unfortunate sales lady called me last week and then she got to hear all about it. So this is what happens when you call my mayor phone instead of my personal phone. The plan was to hopefully have somebody from Vibrant here tonight, otherwise to have somebody respond to Tarek. I don't
They
know.
did.
They did, fine.
Yeah, I spoke to them today.
So I know Public Works was going to discuss it, but Tarek, I guess I'll look to you first as with what Vibrant said.
Yeah, well, first of all, we met at Public Works, and maybe I'll let Ron give what Public Works decided, but I did speak with a representative from Vibrant today. They felt that two things. First of all, they haven't heard from the homeowner or the Millers since the incident, so it's been over a year at least since they heard from them. So it was news to them when we told them that they're looking for some kind of compensation for redoing their lawn there. So they feel like they did something. They helped pay for half of it last time, which is about $1,500 that they paid for, $1,500 the city paid for. So they feel that they did what they were supposed to do and help out, and they don't see anything else or any need to do anything else at this time. And now we can go to what Public Works said.
Great, thank you. Just a little bit of history on it. The street project was done there, I think it was 2017, and obviously the material went into Boulevard, and it was a little bit rocky. 2020, that is when the Vibrant came through and made their mess, and it was noted also Vibrant was on private property, which they did extend their, beyond what our permit allows for. So in that, we did get together with Vibrant and said, hey, let's just do the whole boulevard all at once, get a better cost, and that is what was done. So Voss was hired, they went and did it. And just noted that this is the same material that was used in a number of different locations in town at the same time with the same hydro seeding, and most of those, in fact, I think they all took off just fine. And I think it was noted that if they would have watered as aggressively in 2021 as they did this year, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And possibly with a little bit of spray. So they feel that the city is not at all liable here, that we've done more than our part. However, they did look at the right-of-way permit, noted that they felt Vibrant did extend beyond that, and the motion they did make is that Tarek and myself, we need to get on the phone tomorrow morning, call Vibrant, and say that you have 10 days to contact the residents here, or we will look at revoking your current permits. So they feel very strongly that Vibrant needs to contact others and make something right here. Maybe there's a part on both of them that, their Vibrant was saying that Millers didn't contact them. It's kind of going both ways, but they feel that Tarek and I need to take a step here and tell them, hey, you need to take care of this.
Because when did I know you initially reached out to Vibrant, and the guy never got back to you, is that right?
You're talking just recently?
Yeah.
Or-
No,
Well, I think it's Ron reached out to Luke.
no, we did speak with him a couple of weeks ago.
Correct.
And that's why when you got your email that you passed on, she did again pass it on to the same person at Vibrant, but they feel like I said, that they don't see anything else that they need to do.
But I see the board felt it would go a long ways on Vibrant's part, just being a good neighbor in town. Being there, they're putting fiber through the entire town, so this probably isn't the only issue that they come up with. So we feel it would go a long way on their part if they would just take care of it.
Yeah, they felt that it wasn't up to the city to, really get involved in this, but we should facilitate the communication between Vibrant and the Millers so that they do work something on whatever it is.
So just that I'm clear on the purpose of the recommendation and whatever motion we might make, it's not calling Vibrant and saying, hey, pay them out this, or we're revoking your permits. It's saying, hey, you need to get in touch with them within the next 10 days, and if you don't at least get in touch with them, then we're gonna pull the current permits.
Correct.
So they would satisfy that with however they want to accomplish that.
Correct. We didn't recommend that they pay it 100% or, you know, just try to work something out where the millers are somewhat satisfied, like paying for a hose that they can use for 10 years. That's probably not realistic. It's their hose. Unless you want to go 1/10 depreciation, but I don't think it's necessary to, you know, if they offer them some type of compensation, maybe everybody would be satisfied. Not know if you can, how you word that in your letter or telephone call, but I don't think we're expecting them to pay everything in full.
I just want to make sure, I'm good with giving an ultimatum that says, look, you need to step up and have the conversation, but I would not feel right about saying you have to step up and pay it. I think that's, if they need to resolve that, that needs to be done between.
Yeah, no, it was just that they need to work something out, yeah.
I think when we hear that there's been no communication between the two of them, I think there needs to be.
Well, the way I see it is that if the millers want to get paid, then they should be the one on the phone too, instead of dumping it on the city's lap. I mean, I know we have some obligation, but I think we've fulfilled it already.
I think that since it was brought here, though, this is,
We have to deal with
yeah, this is now the end of it. They took the time to come here and share it with us.
it. Well, I think they did try to work with fiber, they just couldn't get anywhere.
Well, the Vibrant and I think they subcontracted some out to Foxtel for their internet splicing.
Well, we have a recommendation from Public Works to have Tarek and Ron, I would suggest to come from Tarek's email, get in touch with Vibrant and advise that they need to at least get in touch with the millers and try and work this out in good faith, or we revoke the permits. If council wants to adopt that recommendation or act otherwise, but I'd call for a motion at this time for something.
What's on the Monica? You got it, right, Jen?
I have a motion from Sonia to adopt the recommendation of the Public Works Committee and have the city administrator with the Public Works Director email Vibrant and advise them that they need to contact the millers within 10 days, 10 business days. Otherwise, the city will look at revoking their current right-of-way permit. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
I heard it from Thielen first, so any further discussion on that?
What do they have to do to document that they did this?
Yeah. What, are we defining what contact means? They just have to like leave them a message? We're not saying they have to come to a resolution, correct? Just that, how are we gonna, what does contact mean?
I would be satisfied with a letter saying, here are the hours that you can contact with a direct phone number to somebody with the authority to negotiate.
So if they call and say no, and then hang up, that doesn't count.
I just think if you give an 800 number where somebody has to work through a phone tree and they can easily get lost, that's probably not good enough, but I know Tarek's been working with a gentleman named Luke. If they can send out a letter that says, look, you can call Luke between 8 and 4, and this number, I would be satisfied with that. I think, knowing myself, I get overwhelmed when somebody's like, well, just call the company and deal with it, and you think I'm gonna be stuck in a phone tree for an hour and a half. But if there's a direct line, someone I can talk to and pick up the phone.
What I thought we were leaving it in Vibrant's hands to get hold of the millers.
Yeah.
Right.
So we need to check with millers to see if they got hold of them.
But if they send a letter, they can just CC the city.
That's true.
So maybe at a minimum as a letter. Certainly they might want to do more. I don't know, do you need that in the motion, Bill, or are we good?
No, I just wanted, you know, I mean, it just seemed like you have to define somehow how you're gonna be satisfied, what's gonna satisfy you that they've done it.
Yeah.
I don't know, so.
I would be satisfied with a letter just saying, here's the direct line for somebody with the authority to negotiate. I'm not hearing any dissatisfaction with that. Okay. Call on the question and on the motion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Carries. Moving on then, page 78 of the agenda. Looking for a motion to accept the Leadership Boost grant in the amount of $50,000 from the Blandon Foundation.
I'll make the motion to accept the Leadership Boost Grant, in the amount of $50,000 from the Blandon Foundation for the LP Park shelter.
I'll second.
Motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Brick, to approve the receipt of the grant monies. Any further discussion? Just to note, this goes to the Ampey Park Shelter. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None? That carries. Final pay estimate for our seal coat project. Chuck?
Yes, in your packet is a copy of the final pay request for the 2022 Steel Coat Improvement Project. This was a project that was completed midsummer. We received all the final paperwork from the contractor, so basically all we're doing tonight is releasing the 5% retainage that we hold until we close projects out. So it's payable in the amount of $6,203.83, and the project did come in considerably under the original bid amounts.
Good deal. So we're just looking to approve pay estimate number 2 in the amount of $6,203.83 payable to Aztec Corp.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Soini, is there a second? Second. Seconded by Hertzberg, as stated on the action sheet, approving payment estimate number 2 in the amount of $6,203.83. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? That carries. Right. Then we have some informational items on here, the grant notification for source water protection, along with the well sampling results on page 174. Well, I took a walk through those, my eyes went cross after a little while. Anything that we particularly need to be aware of from those results?
No, the results are all either non-detect or below the limits, so no, I don't see anything to be concerned about.
That's kind of what I thought, but just appreciate you making, confirming my read of that. Great, if there are no further business, we will adjourn our business meeting. We do have our closed session to go over the city administrator's annual performance appraisal. And we will move into that here, unless you want to make a comment. I assume you're going to have everything for me to sign tomorrow?
I'll probably just